Hello and welcome to Uncensored. I'm Austin Pollock. Thank you for your company. It's not too far away to the next election. The budget has been handed down and it's now full steam ahead to polling day. And Prime Minister Anthony Albanese is quietly confident in another term. 3 years on since he was first elected, does he have what it takes to win over voters once again, and younger voters in particular? Leonardo, Puglisi and I caught up with the Prime Minister a little earlier.
Prime Minister Anthony Albanese, welcome back to Six News.
Good to be with you again.
3 years since we last spoke. How do you rate your government's performance since then?
Well, when we came to office, these were difficult global economic times. We'd been through the pandemic, and then global inflation has impacted growth, it's impacted employment and inflation right around the world. Inflation had a 6 in front of it when we came to office. It now is at 2.4. We've reduced that whilst we have maintained strong employment growth, 1.1 million jobs, more than any in Australia's history. We have real wages increasing 5 quarters in a row. We've produced tax cuts for every single Australian taxpayer, and we've produced cost of living measures to assist people. So I think in terms of the economic challenge that was there for us, it was like landing a 747 on a helicopter pad. How do you get inflation down whilst providing cost of living relief, whilst not having a negative impact on employment and growth? We've managed to do that. I think we are turning a corner. There's more to do. At the same time, we've had significant reform in aged care, in childcare. We're taking action on climate change. We've restored our relations with the world as well.
Prime Minister, how are your confidence levels going into the next election cycle?
It, of course, is a matter for the Australian people, and all elections historically in Australia are close. The votes, two-party preferred, of the government and the alternative government usually go between 52 and 48. It's either that or 51, 50. Elections are tough, and the Labor Party, I've been here for 10 terms. 3 of those terms have been in government. But I think we've got a good story to tell. Importantly, we've got a good offer as well. The offer going forward of cutting 20% of HECS debt, the further reform in childcare with the abolition of the activity test, the deals that we've done for students, the students who will come after you will benefit from our Better and Fairer Schools funding program, $16.5 billion doing the deals with state and territory governments, lifting up investment from them as well, so that every school student can get the resources that they deserve, whether they're at a public school or a private school, so they can fulfil their opportunity in life and be the best they can be.
We hear a lot of families, right? They're doing it tough right now, and that's something that a lot of people are struggling with. How will this budget address that immediately?
Well, there will be immediate support through the energy bill relief, the next tranche of support which is there. For students, they'll get 20% off their student debt. That will have an impact for that cohort. The work we're doing on cheaper childcare has already benefited Australian families to the tune of $2,700 on average. Free TAFE has benefited 600,000 Australians to get the skills they need for free. We've got tax cuts that have been delivered for every Australian taxpayer. These have all made a difference. But importantly as well, real wages are increasing. We want people to earn more and to keep more of what they earn. That's been an objective of my government, and we are achieving it.
As for this upcoming election, I know you've said that there wouldn't be any formal power sharing arrangements in the event of a hung parliament. Obviously, you were there in 2010 when Labor was in a minority situation. I know you are gunning for a majority here, but in the event that you don't have that, are you prepared to have some kind of negotiation with crossbenchers?
Look, we deal in the parliament all the time with people with respect. But we're not prepared to enter into any sort of coalition agreement with anybody. And I'm confident that we can form a majority Labor government. We're the only political party that stand on our own. The coalition, by definition, is a coalition of two political parties, and they go into the election with just 55 seats, with some internal chaos with people who were members of their team resigning and running against them in seats like Monash and Moore in WA. So when you look objectively at going forward, I think realistically it's only the Labor Party that could be in a position to form majority government. We think that is a strong message. Australia, the last 7 elections have produced 7 different prime ministers on election night. I seek to be the first person since John Howard to be re-elected. Part of our pitch is the stability that we have offered. We are an orderly, stable government. I haven't appointed myself to multiple ministries. We have had no scandals, unlike any other first-term government that has been elected. They've all lost ministers on the way through in their first term. We've been very focused on delivering, and these have been turbulent seas that we've had to navigate globally, but we've always had our eye on the horizon of how do we achieve the objective of building Australia's better future, how do we deal with immediate issues of cost of living pressures, whilst making sure we put in place those mechanisms for the long term, such as the transition to clean energy.
On energy, Prime Minister, you went into the last election with the promise to reduce power bills by $275 per year, but since then we've seen electricity bills rise. Now, last time we spoke to you on 6 News, I know you said you'll be happy to own up to your mistakes. So can you concede that this one was a broken promise?
Well, there have been 3 impacts, and Australia's not immune from it. Before the last election when we spoke, what we didn't know, and you didn't know at that time either, was that Angus Taylor, as the Energy Minister, had hidden a 20% spike in energy through the default market offer, the way that it works through the energy market operator. Had hidden that. It actually introduced a special regulation to defer that becoming public. So that was in place. And then, of course, we had the Russian invasion of Ukraine that is still going. It wasn't anticipated that it would, and it wasn't anticipated that you'd have the spike in global inflation. So we haven't been immune to that, of course. But what we have done is act. We haven't just sat back and been passive. We introduced a cap on gas and coal prices. That was a very radical thing. We didn't promise to do that at the beginning of our term either, but we responded to the changing circumstances which are there. And since then now we have the 3rd lot of energy bill relief, which for some people, when combined in Queensland, for example, have got through the current system some $1,300 off their energy bills.
Prime Minister, you touched on overseas relationships there. I want to take you to the United States, and it's not been long since Donald Trump did come in. Do you worry about our relationship with the United States with the AUKUS agreement that we have now he's in administration?
Well, we respect the democratic outcomes of elections, and President Trump was elected last year. I've had 2 constructive discussions with him. I've met with Democrat and Republican congresspeople and senators, more than 100 of them, when I was there for my State Department visit. And so we'll continue to engage constructively with our friends in the United States. It's a relationship which has been in place now since the Second World War, and it's a strong one. It's a strong economic relationship, a strong security partnership, and it's based upon common values that we have as 2 great democracies.
In terms of just getting back home a bit, younger voters are making up a key demographic at this election, as you know, right? Gen Z and millennials are outnumbering baby boomers. They have been moving away from major parties. They're looking for politicians to hear them. What is Labor, including especially in this budget, offering young Australians?
Well, what we're offering is a 20% cut in debt that they have through their HEX payments, and that will be immediate, will make an extraordinary difference to them. We've changed the APRA conditions so that banks won't take into account people's HECS debts when they're determining housing loans. We have a plan to build more homes for Australians, 1.2 million. We need to address housing affordability as a major issue. Many young people, of course, for young women, the reproductive health policy that we've announced, more than $500 million. Action on climate change is something that's of concern to young Australians very much. And for those certainly not really of voting age, but younger than that, of course, the education deal that we are doing, people will be familiar with the Gonski report of more than a decade ago, talking about how you make sure that every young Australian is able to get the best opportunity in life. We've actually delivered it, putting it in place, a 10-year funding agreement that will see the school resourcing standard met. That makes an enormous difference for Australians. In addition to that, the free TAFE and apprenticeship support that we have in place as well. Already 600,000 Australians have benefited from that. Overwhelmingly, they've been young Australians, but some people are retraining as well as the economy changes.
I just have to ask very quickly on the topic of young people, because it's something that caught my eye over the past, really year, is the social media ban. I know you were very supportive of 6 News when we last spoke, when I was 14, my other colleague, Roman McKinnon, was 13. What since then made you kind of change your mind that it was fine for the 14 and 13-year-olds to be on social media talking to you then, but not so much now?
Well, we want to make sure that for social media, we know can be very positive. It can be a way that people can engage, but it can also cause harm. And speaking to parents who had lost their child effectively is something that is heartbreaking. The rise in mental health issues for young Australians as well requires a response. And just as the banning of phones in school classrooms has had, I think, a positive impact. The feedback is all very positive about students being able to engage in classes much more effectively, and importantly as well, actually talk to each other at lunchtime and during breaks in class as well, learning those social skills. As technology changes, we need to make sure that society has discussions about how we keep control of it rather than technology changing us. So these are complex issues. I understand that, and I understand as well that this was a tough decision to make, but we looked at the evidence, we consulted very widely. We are consulting at the moment about the details of how it will take place. That's why when we did the announcement and the legislation, it comes into effect 12 months after it was carried. But I was quite pleased that it was carried with the overwhelming support of the Parliament. People have responded to what is a need.
All right, well, really appreciate your time. We look forward to catching up again later in the campaign. Prime Minister Anthony Albanese, thank you so much for coming on 6 News again.
Yeah, thanks very much. Have a great day.
Thanks, Prime Minister. And that is Uncensored. You can stay up to date with the latest news on our website, SIXNewsAU.com, and on social media at 6NewsAU. You can support our work at patreon.com/6NewsAU. I'm Pollock on behalf of myself, Leo, and the entire team. Thank you for your company.